Hello everyone. I'm Annlin Stephen and I will be speaking on making change into a chance. So we all have at least once experienced the frustration of not being able to do what you could do or what you're usually good at. And in Harold Russell's case, he had lost all hope in himself but still became one of the most successful writers and actors. Let me enlighten you on his story. He was a surgeon paratrooper in the World War II but had lost both his arms during an accident in a training camp, and when he first woke up in the hospital bed, he thought, "What good am I now? What can a man do without his arms? My life is over." He dreaded going out and facing people. He was overwhelmed with the sense of failure and defeat. Anyone who has lost their hope in what they can achieve or accomplish have also felt this way before. Like, if someone is physically hurt, before becoming physically handicapped, they become mentally handicapped. For instance, if a painter hurts his hands, he hurts more on the thought of not being able to paint again. I too once felt the same way. I am a dancer, but a few years ago, due to a medical complication, I lost all my stamina, and every time I couldn't catch my breath, I felt so helpless. So, what do we do in this circumstance? How do we overcome a drastic change that has happened to us? Do we put ourselves down? Or, as people say, ignorance is bliss? What do you think Harold did? So, back to the story. One day, Charlie McGonigal, who was a surgeon paratrooper in the World War I and also had lost his arms, came to visit him and made him realize that the first obstacle he had to overcome was himself, that he should reconcile with his loss and conquer his bitterness and fear and adjust himself. Yes, adjust. Adapt, overcome, and conquer. Adapt to his new surroundings because changes happen all the time. But the people who are ready to accept it have the strength to survive it and overcome it and face yourself and any fear overtaking you and conquer it. Because, and I quote Emerson, "For everything you have missed, you have gained something else." The major had also reminded him that he was not crippled but handicapped. Harold thought over this. Crippled, handicapped, didn't it mean the same thing? Or did it? So, Harold went to the hospital library and searched up the definition of both the words. Crippled meant incapable of proper or effective action or disabled, and handicapped meant any disadvantage or hindrance, making success in an undertaking more difficult. When he read these words, he found a spirit again because these words meant he still had a chance. So, he kept this advice in mind and concentrated on what he had left because it is not what you have lost, but what you have left that counts. And there's a book I recently read named Who Moved My Cheese? It's a pretty popular book written by Dr. Spencer Johnson, and even though it's ironically silly name, it's a self-help book. And for those of you who don't know, it's a quick synopsis of it is there are four characters, two little men and two mice, and they go about the maze trying to find cheese. And cheese here stands for anything that makes you happy, like your passion or your relationship. But one day, the cheese suddenly disappears. So the two mice go back into the maze enthusiastically to try and find new cheese. But the two little men just stay there and feel betrayed and complain about how life is not fair for them. This story and Harold Russell's story basically teaches us the same thing, that we should always be ready to change. We should always think about what we should do next to accommodate to that change, rather than lingering in your past and thinking about how comfortable life was once or thinking about how to get back to the life before, but nothing ever stays the same. Life goes on, life moves on, and we should build such a mindset that we move with it. So, any of you facing any obstacle, it is better to light a candle than curse the darkness. Any invictus should be conquered with patience, hope, and faith. For human souls beaten down, crushed, and faced with complete failure and ruin can still rise up against unbearable odds and triumph. Thank you.